Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 34 of the Just One End podcast, I think. My name is Elizabeth Zimmerman, but you can call me Liz. I'm coming to you from Cochranville, Pennsylvania, where I live with my husband, Greg, and our two children, Eric and Tilda. You can find me on Instagram as Just One End Podcast. You can find me on Ravelry as Algebrina, and there is a podcast group on Ravelry, although it's not particularly active unless I'm hosting a make-along or knit-along or something like that. It is Monday, February 10th, so it's been a little while since I recorded my last episode. I took the day off today just because I went to the Flying Fibers retreat this past weekend, which was fantastic as always. And I decided I wanted a day off just before I had to go back to work. So I took the day off today. It has taken me all day to actually sit down and record a podcast, even though I knew I planned to do it all day. It's now 4 o'clock. My son will be walking through the door literally any minute now. But yeah, I figured I would just sit down, get something out, catch you guys up on what's been going on. So really, since the last episode, I think the last one I did was beginning of December, so it was right around when Vlogmas was starting. I did actually finish doing Vlogmas. I recorded every day through the 25th. I just didn't do all the editing. So all of the videos are out there through day 16, I think. And I've got all of the video footage captured from day 17 on. I just didn't actually edit it. So I was thinking I might, just edit it all together and make one large video as a wrap up, which I don't know if anybody would watch, but I'll put it out there anyway because it's kind of fun to, have the footage out there. Since I did already capture it, I might as well just throw it all together. So that's the plan for Vlogmas. It is February. It's kind of ridiculous that I'm doing it now, but I figured I might as well. So Vlogmas happened. Holidays were fun. Very busy as usual. January, I didn't really do anything in particular to talk about. Work is always busy, so that keeps me busy. But I also didn't actually do a ton of crafting. But like I said, this past weekend, I went to the Flying Fibers retreat, and nothing will reinvigorate your mojo like going to a retreat. Just being inspired by everybody around you and what they've been working on, and just being able to sit and knit and chat and just hang out is just a blast. So I've actually spent some time today crafting, cast on a new project that I'll be able to share with you, and hopefully working on some more stuff in the immediate future. Also, right now, I am co-hosting the New to You Make-Along. We started this last year. It's about a dozen or more podcasts and makers who are co-hosting this. There is one grand prize winner who gets chosen and gets a prize from every host, which is a really big grand prize. And then the rest of us tend to pick our favorites from the hashtag and just send an individual prize to. So it's a really fun make-along to be involved in. Unfortunately, since I'm telling you about it so late, it actually ends this week. So I am planning to edit and post tonight, so hopefully you will have a couple of days if you're watching it right when it posts. But deadline is Friday, February 14th. Yeah, Valentine's Day. I am also wrapping up, this is ridiculous, also the hat-along that I host every year. It started in October. I extended the deadline through the end of the year. And I have officially closed the thread, which I did yesterday, and I picked some winners. So I decided to I removed one of the prizes. It was a late edition anyway, so I'm only going to give out 2 prizes. There's a bag by Tanny Casey that I'm going to insert a picture of because I always forget to grab it and bring it over when I talk about it. So I have the bag by Tanny Casey, and I have the pattern for the lineal hat by Jamie Marshall, who's a friend of mine, who I saw at the Flying Fibers retreat this weekend. So the winners for that, the bag goes to Knit One Pug 2, who is Krista. So if Krista, you can get in contact with me and send me your address, then I will send that out to you. And then the pattern, the winner is Linda, which is LME Cole. So Linda, I will send that to you through Ravelry or get Jamie to send it to you. So, so congratulations to the winners. I promise next year I will be way better about the timing and advertising and all of that. But thank you to everyone who participated. So with all of that out of the way, I do have some finished objects to share with you. When I first wrote up my notes, I had planned to record before I left for the retreat, which didn't happen. So I'm recording now. I had one finished object to share when I made my notes, and then I had to rewrite my notes because now I have 2, 3, 4. I have technically 5, but I'm only sort of counting one. So, so the first one is my little Santa gnome. He's actually my contribution for the New to You Make Along, or is it my New to You? I decided to try needle felting, and I had this kit from Going Gnome that I picked up, I want to say, at Maryland Sheep and Wool like 3 or 4 years ago, maybe. And I'd just never done it. So it had been sitting there probably on my shelf somewhere visible, or not visible, for a long time. So I decided needle felting was going to be the thing I was going to try, and I was going to go ahead and do this kit. So he's done. He's really adorable. He's got little curly hair for his beard. He's got this fun little nose. He's got a belt and shoes. And yeah, he's just a lot of fun. I had a really great time making him. It's fascinating how needle felting works. Like, you just like poke at it and all of a sudden it takes shape. It's really hard to know, well, or to tell yourself when to stop. Like, I could still be poking at his hat to give it a little bit more of a different shape. But I'm trying to resist doing any more to him because I think you could just keep going forever. So yeah, so that's my little gnome. So he's my first finished object. He's falling over. There we go. I also have a couple of things that I finished at the retreat this weekend. The first thing that I have is a pair of socks that I have actually knit for a friend of mine. She asked if I could knit her some socks, and she sent me a kit, and I knit it up for her. She's a crocheter, so I said that I would knit the socks, and I did. So they are the sheepy socks. I believe it's a country wool pattern. I have not woven in the ends, so there's a bunch of ends still to be woven in, and I will do that before I send it to her. But the sock itself is done, and it's pear. So those are done. They're a lot of fun. They're a worsted weight sock, so it goes pretty fast. You do hold 3 strands of color at some parts of the sheep face, which was a challenge because I don't do a lot of color work. So that was fun to figure out. But yeah, those are done. I don't really remember what the yarns are because it was part of a kit. I think it was just Cascade 220 is the main gray wool, and then just some, red, white, and black for the accents. So those are done. They are in my little hippo bag. This is one of my very first project bags. This is from Freckled Whimsy. And I love this bag because it rolls down so you can set it up. So that is that one. I also finished this weekend my Farm Girl shawl. So this one needs to be blocked, I think, but there we go. I made it kind of small because the Farm Girl shawl pattern calls for 2 skeins of yarn, and I think it calls for a heavier weight than I used, but I had some fingering weight that I wanted to use. And I only had 1 skein of it. So I crocheted as much as I could using up that whole skein, and then I found a complementary color that I just pulled from my stash to do the edge and then to add on the fringe. So I finished that this weekend. I do need to put buttons on it because you can take the ends and button those down. And I also do want to block it because I think it'll stretch a little bit to just make it a little bit more substantial. She does have a cowl pattern also, so I think it's more similar to the size of the cowl pattern because I think the cowl pattern is 1 skein. So I don't mind the size at all. I think it works just fine. But the pattern, Farm Girl Shawl, it's by Liz Alvino, who's a friend of mine, from Arrow Acres Farm. It's the yarn that I picked up at the Yarn Bazaar, And I was using the project bag that I also picked up at the Yarn Bazaar, and I was also using the crochet hook that I picked up at Rhinebeck. So it was my Rhinebeck project in that I got everything. This is a Stephen Willett crochet hook. I got everything from my Rhinebeck weekend. So that was a lot of fun and very special. So the main yarn is Little Fox yarn, Little Foxes. Forehead. Little Fox yarn on the Vixen base, which is 80% superwash merino and 20% silk. So it's very nice. And it's the Pennies from Heaven colorway. And then the complementary color that I pulled out from my stash is this purple. It is Mad Tosh, Tosh Sock, Begonia Leaves is the colorway. So that's lovely. And I have a ton of that left since I only used it for the edge and the fringe. So I'm going to find something else to do with this yarn because it's very pretty. It's a nice purple color. So I finished that one. And then I also finished, just today. This wasn't this weekend, but I did take it with me to work on this weekend and just didn't end up touching it. But since I had the day off today, I actually started it last night and finished it today. I have been meaning to stitch my Wi-Fi password for forever, so I finally did it. I went to stitchpoint.com to create a chart for myself. It's a really cool website where you can choose lettering in certain fonts and type out what you want it to say, and it'll put it into a chart for you. It's very cool. So I went there and typed in my Wi-Fi password so I could figure out how to stitch it. And then I put it on, it's really tiny. It fits into like a 4-inch circle hoop, but I just put it on some Aida that I had kicking around. And then when I put it in there, it had a pretty blank space in the bottom. So I found a pattern for a Wi-Fi signal just by going to Google Images and searching cross-stitch Wi-Fi signal. And somebody had charted it up. So I added that to the bottom, again, with just some thread that I had on hand since I have a fantastic stash now, thanks to my cousin. So I stitched that one. I'd show it to you live, except I don't want to actually show you my Wi-Fi password. So I will put in the picture where I've crossed out the actual password to show that one to you. And then the last thing I want to share, is my Cozy Memories blanket. This is never a finished object because it's going to take me years and years to actually finish. However, I did want to share that I put in all of the squares from this year's advent calendar. I always do that with my advent calendar. It's a great way for me to grow my blanket at least 24 squares a year. So this year I got my advent calendar from Vicki Brown Designs. I always choose a different dyer for my advent calendar. I just tend to, when I'm in the mood to shop for an advent calendar for the year, I just kind of see, okay, who's selling it right now. And I just pick a dyer. So Vicki Brown Designs is who I ended up with this year. And these top 3 rows, here we go, top 3 rows are the advent calendar that I put in this year. So I really like them. There's a lot of fun colors in there. I particularly like this one. It's very vibrant. So I put those into my squares. I do have some leftovers. Not a ton. I think I got 10 gram minis this year by choice because last year I think I got 20 gram minis and I had a ton of leftovers. So I didn't want to have that much leftover yarn. So I think, I want to say my squares take 5 or 6 grams. I don't think it's a lot. So I think I have 4 or 5 grams of each color left. So I'm going to find another pattern to put in all the leftovers. I had started the Adventurous shawl, but I don't think I'm going to continue with that one. I'd only put 1 color in, I think, maybe 2. So I'm just going to rip that out and find something else to do. I haven't really decided what to do instead. There is one shawl that I really like that I saw this weekend, but I think it's going to be too busy for the color changes that I need to do. It's the Audition shawl. It's actually probably a terrible choice, but I do want to knit the Audition shawl because it looks really cool. I think it's only a 2-color shawl when you knit it to pattern though, and it's got a lot of different stitch detail to it. So I think that would get lost in the colors. So I probably won't knit that one. But if anybody has any ideas on what I should do with all of my minis, like I said, I think that I probably have 120 grams, so it's a little bit more than a skein left. And, I don't care about doing color changes in a pattern that doesn't call for it. I just don't want to necessarily lose something by doing those color changes. But yeah, if you have any suggestions, let me know. I'd love to figure out what to do with all of those minis this year. Okay, so that's it for finished objects. I also have some whips to share with you, and let me move that over. Okay, so first, I have been doing a ton of stitching in the past month. As you may know, if you've watched this podcast before, I tend to do the Clouds Factory annual stitch along. They do one every year. They put out a pattern that they release a bit of it every month throughout the year. So I did it in 2017 with Women Are the Architects of Society. Oh, Fabulous Women in History was what it was called. That's just the phrase at the top was the other one. And then it's hanging on the wall right there. And then the Legendary Creatures Alphabet. I did that one in 2018. 2019 was Humans After All. It's all of these figures through, the history of human civilization. And I am halfway through it. So this is what I've been stitching on. I don't know if I can show it all. I think I'm trying to remember. I think I had moved up to, I don't think I'd even moved up to the second row by the last time I showed this. So I've done all of the top row. I'm almost done with the top row. The little decorative bit on the end here is all that's left on the top row. That will finish out the June pattern. So I still have the rest to do, which is the other half of this row and then all of the bottom row. So that will be the rest of the year. So I'm hoping to get this done in the next couple of months. I don't expect to get it done, ridiculously quickly because it did take me a lot of time to get just to the point that I'm at. But I do want to finish it sooner than later. And one reason for that is because I do have the 2020 stitch along, which is the Brothers Grimm fairy tales, which I'm really anxious to get started, especially because I do have the kit sitting here next to me and I will show it to you in acquisitions. And I'm just sitting on it until I'm done with this one because I refuse to start that one before I get this one done. I am also working on the woven shawl, which I showed last time. I'm not going to show it again this time because there's just not enough progress to show, but I am actively working on it. I decided that I'm not going to start another shawl until that one is actually done. And then today I cast on a new project that's a sweater. I realized as I was going through the sweaters, or going through the projects that I've done this year for show and tell at the retreat, last year I had like 6 or 7 sweaters that I had to share for show and tell last year because I just knit a ton of sweaters. This year, I didn't knit as many sweaters. I did actually knit more than I thought because I was like, oh, I only knit like 1 sweater this year. And then I realized, oh, no, there were actually 2. And then I was, oh, no, there was that one too. So I actually knit 4 sweaters this year. I knit the Brunswick tee. I knit the Foxtrot cardigan. I knit the ash sweater, which I actually wore this weekend, which was very nice. And then I also knit the Hitofude, which I'd also forgotten about. So I did knit some sweaters this year. However, I think I finished the Hitofude like early fall. It's been a while since I've actually been knitting on a sweater. It feels like it's been like 4 or 6 months. So I decided I needed a new sweater in my life. I bought the yarn for it forever ago. It's actually all sitting right here. This is Quince & Co. Icelandic, I believe. It's it's Quince & Co. Chickadee, so it's the sport weight or DK weight. And it is, yes, Iceland is the colorway. So I have the yarn and I've had it forever. I bought it at Flying Fibers, I think right after Rachel Brockman, blanked on her last name for a second, right after Rachel Brockman gave a talk on some of her designs. I was inspired by one that she had, and I bought all of the yarn for it, and then didn't touch it. So, so I have cast it on now. Does it look like a sweater yet? I started the ribbing at the bottom. It is the Maston cardigan. It's got a lot of cables to it. It looks like a lot of fun to knit. So I'm very much looking forward to it. I also decided that I really like cardigans this year. A lot of the sweaters that I was knitting, not this past year, but the year before, I did a lot of pullovers, and I just find that I don't wear a lot of pullovers. So I'm on a cardigan kick at the moment, or at least appealing. Cardigans are appealing to me at the moment. So I started that. Like I said, I started it today, so it's 4 rows deep right now. So I got a ways to go on it. But it is nice to have a sweater in my life again. So I have a sweater on the needles, I have a shawl on the needles, and I have some stitching. And for right now, I'm going to try and limit it to that. But I do want to actually spend some time working on them because I just haven't been knitting a whole ton. And honestly, some of that is because I've been stitching a lot more, which I can't complain about. It's also because I've been wasting my time on a game on my tablet, which I also won't complain about because it's a lot of fun to play. Cooking Diary, if anybody's played it, it's addictive. If you haven't played it, I recommend not playing it because it's addictive. Yeah, but it's fun to get more crafting in. And that is living in my Tana Casey bag that has a bunch of llamas on it, which is actually empty right now because I haven't wound up all the yarn because it's all right there. So eventually this will be more full rather than just one 50-gram ball and the 4 rows that I've started knitting. Okay, and that's all the knitting that I had to share with you. I am going to show you a couple of acquisitions. You would think that having, not shared anything since December, I'd have a lot more. I just don't. I haven't been buying a lot of yarn or a lot of things. I have been doing some stash diving, like when I was working on the Farm Girl shawl, I went shopping in my yarn stash here. Was able to pull out a color without buying any extra yarn. So that's kind of nice to be able to do. But I have bought a couple of things. So one, as I mentioned, the Clouds Factory Stitch Along for 2020. This is the kit that they sent. They don't send much information in the kit because they don't release the pattern. They do the first pattern release after you get the kit. So this just has all of the floss. It has the fabric in it, which looks like it's kind of like a blue-green. It's always from Picture This Plus. They do some amazing fabrics, and I like to stitch it on linen, so I've got the linen kit. They usually throw in some special threads. I didn't see what we have this year. It might be Weeks Dye Works. That's usually what it is. I think those are hiding in there. But this is just calling to me, waiting for me to start it. So I just need to get working on my 2019 so I can move on and start with the Brothers Grimm. I'm really excited about it. And then I also picked up this, the New to You Make Along, when I decided to do needle felting. I knew I had that kit to do the Santa, but I thought I might like to try something else as well. And Amazon happened to have a lightning deal on a needle felting kit, like that day, and I just dropped the instructions. And this kit has a ton of stuff in it. Like, it's got a lot of little colors of all of the little, the wool, and then it's got some, accessories and things, and there's like stencils and molds. It's really cool, and I think this is like $20 or something. So it's just something fun to try out. It's that little book that I just dropped. Has a bunch of little project ideas, things that you can do. And having done it once now already, I'm feeling a lot more confident in, just trying out anything, just something fun to, little figures and whatnot, whatever. I just want to get creative and have fun with that. So I haven't had much time yet to pull it out, but I would like to get back to it sometime this year. Now that, the make along is ending this week, so I'm not planning to make anything more this year. And, I got my Santa and he's adorable. So, so at some point this year, though, I do want to try it again because it was a lot of fun to do. And then, not really an acquisition, but I did sign up for a class. I'm going to be taking the embroidery on knitting. Probably not exactly what it's called, but that's the idea, with Carolyn Bloom up at Freeman Fiber in March. And I'm excited because one of the things that it says on the supply list is to bring a project that you may want to add some embroidery to, and we can brainstorm design ideas. And I wanted to bring up the Brunswick tea. So this is the Brunswick tea. I finished it a couple of months ago, sometime this year. And I love it. It's beautiful. However, the color that I chose is too close to my skin color, so I kind of fade into it. I love the green at the bottom. I love the color at the top. I just feel like it doesn't work very well with my skin. So I was thinking what I might like to do is add some of that green to the neckline and the sleeves just to break it up a little bit so it's not quite so blendy. So I'm planning to bring that up, see if I can do something with that. But yeah, so that's in March. I'm excited for that one. Technically, it's an acquisition because I paid for it, and it's coming up. And one more acquisition to talk about. This is not knitting related, but I thought I'd share anyway. You may notice, you may not notice at all, but I have new glasses on. They have anti-reflective coating, so you can still see the lights a bit in my eyes, but hopefully they're not quite as bad as they were before. These ones are pretty much the same glasses I had before, you know, just a standard black frame. But since I ordered them through Zenny Optical, which has ridiculously affordable prices, I actually got 3 pairs of glasses when I got new glasses this time. So I have these ones, and then I also decided to get some fun green ones. So here's these. And then I also got some red/pink ones. So there you go. So some new glasses. It was just a lot of fun to try something new because glasses can be, you know, a fun way to accessorize, especially when you don't accessorize other ways. So that's it for acquisitions. Yep. Okay, I think I got through everything. Last thing I want to talk about is just, you know, it's a new year. I do have some goals this year. I've already screwed up one of them because it's February, and one of my goals was to podcast at least once a month. So not doing great out of the gate, but I'm still going to continue with that goal through at least the end of the year. Another goal that I had this year was I wanted to try going to bed early in the month of January. Early by my standards, if you know me at all, is 11:30. 11:30 was my I'm going to go to bed early time. I did really well for about 2 weeks, and then I totally blew it and stayed up till 4 a.m. 3 times in a row. And then just had a hard time getting back into it. It was very nice the first couple of weeks. It's just really hard for me, especially if I start watching a show, and binge watching was just designed for me. So if I'm watching something and 11:30 rolls around and I'm only halfway through an episode, then I just have to finish that episode. And then if I finish that one, then I'll definitely want to watch the next one. So yeah, so it did not go particularly well in January. However, I do want to try it again. I'm thinking maybe in March I will try again with the let's do it for a whole month and then, you know, just commit to that stretch of time. So fingers crossed it'll go better next time, but we'll see. And then lastly, a goal that I am doing well with so far. My grandma gave me her collection of Agatha Christie paperbacks that she had collected at some point and read through all of them. And then she passed that on to me sometime in I think I may have been in high school when she gave it to me. And I have not done anything with them. I've moved with them several times. They are all in the what we call the library, which is actually the living room that is furnished with nothing but bookshelves and the piano. So they're in there, and I decided, okay, I'm actually going to read these this year because I've had them forever. And I've read a couple of Agatha Christie books in the past, but I'd never really read all of the ones that my grandma gave me. So she does have every single book that Agatha Christie published. I don't think she has the plays. I think it's just the books. But I went through and I organized them. I put them in I lied. I put them in alphabetical order, but I'm going to read them in publication order. So I did read the first one. I can't remember what it was. I think it's called The Mysterious Happenings at Styles Manor, something like that. It was good. I enjoyed the story, and I have the second book already ready. sitting out ready for me to pick up again and read that one. The only challenge I'm having is the whole point of this is to read the paperbacks that my grandmother gave me because I've had them forever. However, I am mostly an audiobook reader. And Agatha Christie books, I mean, in audible format, they're pretty short. So I could, listen to it and then knit or craft or something. But I'm trying my best to resist that because the whole point is to read the paperbacks. So I did read the physical books, or the first physical book. I am planning to read the rest of them. I don't know what my goal is necessarily going to be timing-wise. I'd like to do at least one a month, but that's not going to get me very far through the list. I think she wrote something like 60 books, and that would only be 12. So, so probably try and read more, or it'll just be a goal that spans several years. We'll see. So I think that's it for me this time. Like I said, one of my goals is to podcast every month. So hopefully I will get another one in. I might try another one for February since I missed January. So we'll call this one late January. And try and get one more in. So on that note, I will see you next time. Bye. Cat, seriously. No, get down. Hey, cat. What are you doing? I have a cat in my lap. Every time you do this, I get fur in my face. Yes, I do. You see the chin? Oh yeah, there's the little chin right there. Get your little chin. I don't think I'm going to keep that part in. That was weird.